Exactly 4 years after the dictator Omar al-Bashir was ousted, Sudan is gripped by a bloody conflict that has led to the deaths of hundreds of people. These are scenes from the capital Khartoum, where people have been sheltering from constant gunfire and bombardment as rival forces battle it out for key points in the city. The violence started a week ago when fighting broke out between forces loyal to the army chief, Abdel Fattah Burhan, and his deputy, Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, who commands the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. In a moment, I'll be asking an analyst if and how the situation can be resolved. But first, we want to take you back to 2018, when rare protests broke out in the country, triggering the Sudan revolution.
It was the skyrocketing price of bread in 2018 that started the protests in northern Sudan. They quickly spread across the country, and anger turned towards President Omar al-Bashir. The long-time autocrat responded with a security crackdown that left dozens dead. Nevertheless, the people of Sudan still kept pouring into the streets, many of them women. Then, after 30 years, the military generals turned on their leader. Omar al-Bashir was removed.
I'm announcing here, as Defense Minister and head of the Supreme Security Council, we are removing this regime and detaining its head after he was arrested in a safe zone.
Protesters packed the streets in celebrations, but they were to be short-lived. After a transitional military government was set up, many were not happy with the military still in charge, and vowed to keep demonstrating, demanding civilian rule. Then, negotiations between the generals and pro-democracy leaders broke down. In June 2019, armed men moved in on the peaceful protesters, killing over 120 people. Shortly after, civilian and military factions came together and agreed to share power. The military promised elections in 2023. Economist Abdel Fattah was appointed as Prime Minister for the transitional period, and the new government moved quickly to carry out key reforms. But many months of political wrangling hardly got them anywhere. And in October 2021, Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and the military removed Hamdok from office. This effectively ended civilian rule in Sudan, leaving Burhan and the head of the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, General Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, widely known as Hemedti, in charge. Both made their names during the brutal conflict in Sudan's Darfur region. The pro-democracy movement nonetheless tried to keep hope alive and took to the streets early this year. But instead of turning to democracy, on the 15th of April, the two generals turned on each other.
And to talk more about that revolution, I'm joined in the studio by Ahmed Issam. He is a Sudanese artist and activist. He took part in the revolution protest that led to the ouster of Sudan's longtime ruler, Omar al-Bashir, in 2019. Welcome, Ahmed. It's really good to be talking to you again. The last time was around the time of the protests. I just want to begin by asking you how you feel about what's happening right now back in your home country.
For the personal feeling, is very terrifying. I mean, it's the first time that we witness a very large-scale war where the conflict is around my family houses and my friend houses. So actually, my friends are the battlefield ground. Their buddies are the battlefield ground. And I think it's a very terrifying moment. We're trying to navigate through that and create a political effort.
Ahmed, in many ways, this started in 2018 when Sudanese people began protesting. We know that those months-long protests led to the ouster of former President Omar al-Bashir. Just remind us again about how that came about, because you were involved in those protests.
So the revolution since 2018 December, and it was organized after like a long rage and anger, but also part of this revolution demand, people came together because they want to end the high militarized political spaces and public spaces, which has actually led to the conflict now. So the revolution demand is ending the Bashir power, because Bashir ruled the country through the military and through violence, and they wanted to end that long series of violence.
You now have this power struggle involving the two most powerful men in the country. Who do you blame now? Because Omar al-Bashir is out the way, he's in prison. Who is responsible for where Sudan is today now, 4 years after al-Bashir's ouster?
It was like for the last 4 years, it was a struggle against those two guys, those two people, like the Hamiti and al-Burhan. Two of them, they made a military coup in 2021 to end the transitional period where they shared power with the civilian government, and they also start to suppress the revolution, and killing activists who participated on this revolution wanted to have the monopoly of power as a military again, which is something which activists fought against. People fought against Bashir, not Bashir himself, also Bashir infrastructure, Bashir military power. And Bashir military power is which is governing Sudan now, and Bashir military power is the one that's fighting now against each other. So the paramilitary, which is Hamiti, is a paramilitary group that made by Bashir, but Burhan, as the head of the military, he sustained the power of Hamiti, and he gave Hamiti all of the resources to kind of expand his empire as a militia that supporting the military and supporting suppressing the revolution.
Ahmed, I'm interested to know if you still believe or are hopeful that Sudan could one day become a democracy, the democracy that you began fighting for in 2018.
Yeah, it is not only my belief, it's the belief of the people who is activists in the street. They are actually, there is people now when they are looking at the conflict in Sudan, they look at two parties, which is Burhan and Hamiti. But there's a third party, which is the majority party, the party of the revolution, the part of the people who actually asked for a long time for a civic government, for ending of militarization of society. And that voices of the resisting committees, political parties, alternative syndicates, and doctor unions, they were all fighting to end those kind of conflict, fearing this moment. And still their voices is loud, and they're using the spaces that they have in the middle of this battleground to intensify this discourse for civilian government, for ending the war, but also ending any form of violent militant organizations that actually govern the country now.
All right. Ahmed Issam, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
And now to get some analysis on the power struggle that has triggered the violence in Sudan, we've invited Fidel Owusu onto the program. He is an international relations and security analyst. He works for Conflict Research Consortium for Africa. He's based in Accra. Welcome to DW News. Fidel, can you help us understand the issue at heart that has led to the current situation in Sudan?
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity. The issue at hand is the reintegration or the integration of the paramilitary force known as the Rapid Support Forces, led by General Dagalo, into the regular army. In fact, this paramilitary force fought in the Darfur conflict during the 2000s, and the Sudanese people think that it's about time that they are reintegrated or they are integrated into the regular forces so that it will ensure some stability and for the general security of the country. Because as it stands, it seems that we have two powerful military groups or armed groups, that being the regular forces and the paramilitary group. And this reintegration or the integration has caused these problems in the country.
And Fidel, what are the possible outcomes of this conflict?
Yes, as it stands, finding peace has become very elusive because the paramilitary force, that the RSF, is not comfortable about the integration, and they feel that if there's going to be some reintegration into the regular forces, it's not going to secure their economic and political interests. And so the outcomes are that, one, if they feel that they are at an advantage in the current conflict happening, they are not going to lay down their arms, neither are they going to heed to the ceasefire that is being called from all over the world. And again, if they think that they are going to be defeated, that is when they will sit around the table. But as it stands now, they are at head and neck with the military, and they feel that they will still have to continue. Other than that, they will have to sit around the table and talk anyways.
And what do regional leaders need to do to help bring stability to Sudan right now?
Yeah, interestingly, Sudan is in an area or a region that is very tumultuous and very volatile. We have in South Sudan a very divided country. In Ethiopia, we still have some rebellion that was recently quenched. We have authoritarian regime in Eritrea and a pariah state there. And in the northeast of Sudan, we have Libya. And this can mean a refugee group or people flocking through the northeastern corridor into southern Europe, crossing the Mediterranean Sea to southern Europe. But IGAD, that is the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, which is the regional body, is supposed to ensure that there is peace. Recently, they held a meeting and they've asked the Sudanese president, Salva Kiir, the Kenyan president, and the president of Djibouti to intervene or to represent the group in Khartoum. But so far, nothing has happened. And because of this has the potential of engulfing the whole region into a very destabilized state.
Wow. Okay. So hopefully we can get that resolved before the situation escalates to that point. That is Fidel, also talking to us from Accra. Thank you for your time and insight.
You're welcome.